Hey guys, Fairy Toots here, and today I have some really cool books that I found that I'm going to share with you guys today. And I also saw a couple other books that I didn't end up buying because they just weren't as accurate as these ones were, so I thought these would be better to portray on my channel and kind of go through and share with you guys. But I will be posting pictures from the other books that I found on my Patreon account, so make sure that you go and click the link below. And if you become a patron, all you have to pledge is $1 and you'll be able to access all of that stuff. You can pledge more or not, it doesn't really matter, but you have to pledge something to see it, unfortunately. So $1 is the minimum, so I mean it's really not that bad, and you get access to a bunch of cool stuff. And I'm going to be posting my favorite entries from these books as well, so I really recommend at least doing it for this month so you can check those out. So these two books I got from Barnes & Noble in my city, and they're actually from a series of books. I saw a few. These two obviously stood out to me because this one is all about fairies and this one's all about auras, which you know I specialize on here on my channel. There was also one that stood out to me about Wiccan, which I was looking through. It was super interesting, so I highly recommend checking out all these series. They all are an introduction to whatever they're saying, and it's called A Little Bit of Fairies and A Little Bit of Auras. There are two different authors. This one's by Elaine Clayton and this one's by Cassandra Eason. So I think it's really cool that these books exist, and also just the artwork really stood out to me. I was literally leaving the bookstore and saw these on my way out, and they just stood out to me, and then I realized that it was about fairies and auras, and it worked out so perfectly. Like, I was meant to get these books, so really cool. This one's my favorite. This is just so cool to look at. It's like holographic, actually. I didn't even realize that, but I'm obsessed. I love it. Anyway, I'm just gonna go through both of these books individually and share with you some cool entries, some things that may or may not be true in here, my opinions on some of the posts in here, and yeah. So first, let's start by reading off the back of each book. So the fairy book says, "Let the fairy adventures begin. Whimsical and lyrical, this book explores what and who fairies may be. It's sure to intrigue anyone who wants to acquaint themselves with these otherworldly beings. Elaine Clayton takes a look at how we distinguish fairies from angels, how fairies came about, visions and dreaming of fairies, looking for fairy faces in rocks and nature, the coexistence of animals and fairies, and more." Sounds super exciting. And then this one by Cassandra Eason says, "A user-friendly introduction to understanding auras. If you're interested in learning about auras, colored energy fields that surround people, animals, plants, crystals, and even places, this handy, accessible book is a wonderful starting point. Cassandra Eason explains a variety of techniques for sensing, seeing, and interpreting the aura, your own, those of both individuals and groups, and those of your pets, and how you can cleanse, heal, strengthen, and protect the aura." So I thought that this book was super interesting, mostly because I don't really focus on auras of other beings, mostly just fairies, because that's what I specialize in. But I thought it would be really interesting to learn about auras as a whole and not just fairy auras. So we're just gonna hop right in. This one's called Interpreting the Aura. Young children who are naturally clairvoyant, have never studied or heard of the concept of auras, routinely see and often draw colors around people and say, "Oh, that's a green lady or a pink cat," because they are picking up the essential feelings or characters of this subject. As children acquire more education and learn that cats are physically black, white, and brown, but never pink, the physical vision of what is tangibly visible takes over, but the ability to detect and interpret auras never goes away. Sensing the aura. Most aura awareness in everyday life comes through sensing the aura of others, and we all do this unconsciously. When someone you do not know or do not like gets too close, even if he is not physically touching you, you may feel uncomfortable because he is intruding on your aura or personal space. By contrast, when a small child or your lover snuggles up to you, there is no defining barrier between you and the other person. The energy field boundaries have relaxed and flowed temporarily into one. I think that this is really awesome. It's 20 ways to instantly improve your aura. So maybe we'll just rush through those steps, because I think it's very helpful not only for human beings but for fairies as well to have a cleansed palette and a cleansed aura in order to properly portray that to others. So one is eat brightly colored fruits and vegetables, either raw or lightly cooked, to make your aura more radiant. Berries and raw peppers are instant aura energy lifters, which is true, and I know of this and I've spoke of it a little bit. All of these I've spoke of a little bit. Let's see. Go outdoors in natural light for a few minutes whenever possible. If you work in a setting of constant artificial lighting, which is an aura drainer. So what that means basically, when you go to school and you have all these lights on, it's draining to your aura, but natural lighting from the sun is super, super cleansing to your aura, and it will bring all of that light back into your inside within. So I agree with that 100%. Work with a dish of mixed crystals in the different colors of the rainbow. When you wake up, pick one crystal without looking and hold it in your cupped hands. We are automatically drawn through the sensitive energy centers of our palms and fingertips to the most helpful crystal, and this will be the color your aura needs most. That is actually really interesting. So that is really interesting. What it's saying is to just keep this by your bedside, and every morning when you wake up, just pick a random crystal color, and that will be what your aura needs most in the day, which is really, really cool. And I never heard of this before. And obviously I can't prove this right now, but I think it'd be really cool to test that out and see if it helps throughout the day to attract yourself to that color aura. If you feel hostility around you, move the palms of your hands together and outward again so they almost touch, and then a few inches apart, very slowly to build up the energy between them. When you feel your hands becoming heavy, move your hands quickly apart, it may be hard, and shake your fingers over your head and shoulders from above your hairline. This will create psychic sparks around your whole aura that will deter spite and hostility. Really awesome tip. Keep a pot of growing fragrant flowers around your home or office to circulate and infuse your aura with health. On dark, cold days, wear at least one bright color to stimulate your aura and counteract the sleepy, dull energies that can sap enthusiasm. If you work with high-tech machinery or use a mobile phone or computer at home a lot, set green malachite or gray smoky quartz between you and the machine. Alternatively, keep a small crystal with your mobile phone to prevent it from sucking energy from your aura. That's really interesting, because maybe doing that can help with the transition from human to fairy. And because technology interferes with that, maybe the green malachite or gray smoky quartz could help you when transforming and being near those things. So that's really interesting to read, and I think that we should all give that a try if we can, and see if that can prevent the spell from deterring due to technology. That's really cool. Gold and silver jewelry. Gold jewelry will fill your aura with confidence and focus, and is good if you need to impress others or show authority. Silver jewelry will increase harmony and bring peace and reconciliation to any interaction. Copper jewelry fills your aura with love and will attract and increase love in your life. If you feel totally exhausted or depressed, gently pass a clear quartz crystal pendulum or point in clockwise circles through your hair, then down over your eyebrows in clockwise circles, just touching the skin, then over your throat and your wrist points for your heart energies. This will give you a rapid infusion of power and enthusiasm. I get a lot of people asking me if I can make spells to help with depression or anxiety or low self-esteem, and I think that this tip will really help your aura a lot in helping you overcome that, or at least work through it throughout the day. So I highly recommend that tip. So they basically go through and break down each of the colors of the auras. So I thought that I would go through and see how closely these relate to fairy auras and see what the differences are, because I think that's really interesting. So yeah, I'm just gonna start doing that now. Red, for action, survival, change, power, physical energy, courage, determination, and passion, the color of the crusader. Red forms the innermost aura layer. Positive qualities. As clear, bright red, scarlet, or rich ruby, it indicates vibrant life, the ability to overcome any obstacles, a desire to initiate positive change, and a passionate lover. Well, I would say that it's similar to the red aura. However, we focus more on what powers we can achieve through our auras. So I would say that it's not a direct comparison, but I can see the similarities and how they were established, if that makes sense. The next one is yellow. For logic and intellectual achievement, speculative abilities, versatility, and mental dexterity, and changeability or restlessness. The color of the communicator and the traveler. Yellow is the third level of the aura, moving outward in one of the everyday living layers. Positive qualities, focused mind and sharp memory, of financial and business acumen, especially in speculation and technological expertise. I would say that that's pretty spot on to how we portray the yellow aura. Comment below if you have any thoughts or comments about these and how you think they differ from fairy and regular aura. The next one is green, for love, fidelity, trust, harmony, natural growth in every way, and concern of the environment, the color of the child of nature. Green is the fourth layer of the aura, moving outward in the last daily life level. At its outer limits, it reflects love of humanity. Positive qualities, rich, clear green reveals a trustworthy, loving heart who is generous with time, love, and money, and whose words come from the heart. I would say that this is very true. And then it says if it's an emerald green, it shows a natural healer, especially in the alternative field, and someone who is naturally lucky. I would say that this is very spot on because the green aura, as you know, that was my favorite aura to be or to have, I might say, because I just absolutely love plants and nature, and this is a great aura to have if you want to help heal. So I would agree that this is exactly how it's portrayed in the fairy community. Next color is blue. For ideals, broad vision, both of perspective and physical horizons, natural authority and healing powers transmitted through higher sources. The color of the seeker of truth. Blue is the first of the higher and outer aura levels and the fifth one moving outward from the body. Positive qualities, keen sense of justice and natural powers of leadership, very creative and altruistic, idealist, and objectivity. So I would say that this is pretty accurate as well, especially creativity is a big one with the blue aura. So I would definitely say that this is pretty accurate, and I can see where it was pulled from the natural auras of the body. Oh, interesting. They have a white aura. Let's go ahead and take a read on that one. For limitless potential, boundless energy, the free-flowing life force, the color of the soaring spirit, the quester, and the innovator. White often forms part of the outermost seventh aura layer in highly evolved people, especially where indigo and violet merge in the sixth aura layer. Or white may overlay with violet. Indeed, from the sixth layer on, the colors become much more blended. Positive qualities. This aura is the color of those who follow a unique life path and make a difference in the world. It draws pure, undiffused light from the cosmos that can be used for healing. It is a highly evolved color, indicating higher levels of consciousness, purity of intention, and the quest for what is of worth. I would say that that's pretty accurate. Our white aura, as you know, is one of two things. It either goes with the white fairy dust, or it can be a sign of illness. So I agree that this is pretty accurate. Going away from the sickness aspect of the white aura and going straight towards the white fairy dust aura. This book is a really great read. I highly recommend it. It was about $9 at Barnes & Noble, so it's a really great price, especially for the amount of information in here, and the cover alone is just absolutely beautiful to die for. I absolutely love it. It mostly just talks about what auras are and how you can cleanse and heal them and keep them bright and healthy. And the ways to do that are using water, crystals, fragrance, and removing pollution. So I agree with that. It's very, very useful. And they actually give you a spell when using crystals, and it goes like this. Above me the light, within me the radiance, that I may be filled with love in my heart. So I think that's really, really sweet and cool. And you would just hold your crystal and use that here. So I think it's really awesome, and I actually might do a video based on how to use crystals to keep your aura bright and healthy and cleanse your palette. I think it's really great. Next, we're just gonna be jumping into a little bit of fairies, an introduction to fairy magic. And I thought that this book was actually quite interesting, and here's the table of contents. I'm just going to skim through that and see what I'd like to show you guys. They start with a quote from William Shakespeare. It says, "How now, spirit, whither wander you? Over hill, over dale, through bush, through brier, over park, over pale, through flood, through fire, I do wander everywhere." So I think what this chapter is going to be about is where fairies travel and where fairies reside and how you can find fairies, how you can live as a fairy, and all of that good stuff. It's called Where Fairies Wander. It's the first chapter. And it just kind of starts off with an introduction and kind of the folklore of fairies and all about them. This book also compares fairies to angel, has another William Shakespeare quote. "Oh, speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night, being o'er my head as a winged messenger of heaven." It's from Romeo and Juliet. I love that play. And this one, I thought it was interesting because this book actually goes on to say how there's a lot of controversy over fairies' behavior, saying that they're mischievous, and I believe that they are referring to pixies pretending to be fairies and causing mischief in the world. So I'll just read it. This is titled "Be Careful There, ... Whether considered real or not, good or bad, fairies generally were thought to pose possible threats, and such caution comes perhaps for good reason, as fairies vary from nice to not so nice, and look out for themselves, their natural disposition to unyieldingly thrive, unless they just happen to be fond of you or have respect for you or see that you benefit the environment. Beware. They're watching us closely as we go pushing and shoving our way through our time on Earth, often creating havoc in our environment, their natural environment, without a hint of awareness as to what we've done, stomping around careless of the damage we've caused. So I thought that was interesting. Obviously, that's not really how fairies are, so I don't really like how that's portrayed in this book. But obviously, this person is just writing based off of what they know and their experiences, so I am not going to say anything bad about it. I would just say that it's untrue, and to look at other books when looking for how fairies behave, because this one doesn't seem to portray it very well. This book goes on about fairy folk and their kin, basically different types of creatures in the fae or related to fairies. Imps, changelings, elves, pixies. Let's see what they have to say about pixies. I didn't even realize this was in here. Sweetly attractive and spontaneous little ones are pixies. They're very childlike in appearance with their large, glossy, reflective eyes, sprouting hair, and small, pointy ears. But they're not exactly guileless. Pixies can sense, see, and hear just about everything. Humans with their emotional and mental energies and intentions, as well as thoughts, which we humans often think are secret thoughts known only to ourselves, are like broadcast news to pixies. Such thoughts rush through pixies in the form of visions and instant knowing, as they are incredibly intuitive and able to hear us even in our slightest thoughts. They are very sensitive and quick-witted. Pixies love dancing and even a little bit of rough playing, flitting merrily among newly growing sprouts, as they love vegetation and encourage us to grow food, vegetables, fruits, and herbs. They are attracted to rich, wet soil and applaud us for watering our growing plants. They love chasing each other through thickets. When you hear twigs snap, if you look quickly, you may spot the flash of a pixie as it leaps swiftly. Now, I believe that this book is trying to portray pixies as good and fairies as not so good, or maybe looked at as not so good, which is fine. They've got it a little bit mixed up, but it also shows you how to attract each of these magical beings. They also talk about dryads, gnomes, sylphs, nymphs, Celtics, and rock people. So if you'd like to know more about that, I definitely recommend checking this book out. This is the part that I really was looking forward to, and I am so excited. So I was checking out other books, and it was called something like the Mythology of the Celtics or something like that. If you don't know what that is, it's basically the Irish Celtics or Celts. I'm not sure, but that is the origin of a lot of mythical creatures such as fairies. So let's just go through. This is called How Fairies Came About. The Irish Celts lay claim to fairies more than any other culture, and for excellent reasons. I recall going to Ireland and while visiting the grave of William Butler Yeats, author of The Lake Isle of Innisfree, a poem about children being stolen by fairies. While there, an Irishman told me his version of the well-known story of how the notion of fairies began in Ireland. He said that there was a great war, the Battle of Ben Bulben in County Sligo, however you say that, sorry. And at this battle, the Celts were fighting a powerful people known as, I'm not going to even try to pronounce that, and the Celts were defeating them. When the Irish won, those they defeated said, "He didn't defeat or kill us, we simply became invisible." And so from that point on, those vanquished in the battle transformed into powerful and corporeal beings, undefeated. They became fairies. At the site of that battle, they are said to come and go through a door on the side of the mountain Ben Bulben. From that time on, they are known to have existed and still do live in the fairy rings or mounds and cairns all over Ireland. So I think that's pretty interesting. I've been told this story in many different fragments. I've never heard it told about the war, but I have heard that it came from those who passed on and came back as these invisible or unknown creatures. So I think that that's super cool that they included that in here. See, they talk about fairyland, which is hypothetical. I'm not sure if they're speaking of it as a hypothetical place, but it looks like they are, like forests and stuff like that. Alrighty guys, I hope you really did enjoy this video of me going through these two amazing, wonderful books. This one I was actually surprised that I didn't like as much as this one. There was just a lot of information in here that didn't ring true to me. If it rings true to you, that's awesome. I highly recommend it. It's a very well written book, and it's very, very cute. I think it's so sweet. There's little drawings like this on a lot of the pages. I really, really recommend this book if you'd like to learn more about auras. There's not as many images, but there are illustrations such as this one that kind of shows you what they were talking about as far as where the placement of the auras go. And they have a couple other pages or pictures in here that are really helpful as well. So I highly recommend this book, and if you would like to see other entries from other books that I saw but did not buy, you can go ahead and go to my Patreon. I will be making it public for anyone who pledges any amount of money. It doesn't matter, $1, $15, it does not matter at all. So if you're already a patron, thank you so much for supporting me, and you will be able to have access to those as soon as this video goes live. And if you're not already a Patreon, I would really appreciate it if you joined the Patreon family here on Fairy Truths, and you will be able to see all those amazing things as well. Thank you so much, and as always, bye!